No, I'm sorry for bringing us here, because to be honest, the whole reason why we're doing this is because I saw Jack Harlow was in a movie, and I said I wanted to see that.
But to be honest, right? Like we mess with each other, but I be dragging you about all these black classics you ain't seen. And technically, White Men Can't Jump is a black classic that neither of us had seen.
Hmm.
So in the endeavor to be, black cinema literate, we should watch this movie.
Right.
We did at some point need to watch it. Did I need to watch the new one? No shade. No shade to nobody involved.
We ain't sleeping till Hollywood, Hollywood. We ain't sleeping.
Hello, hello, hello. You are listening to the No Sleep Till Hollywood podcast. We're not sleeping until we make it in Hollywood. And while we're up, we will be discussing the state of the industry and our place in it. It's your girl, Gaelyn Smith.
And your boy Caleb McDonald. And welcome, welcome, welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Today we are back with another double
Yes.
feature.
Another one.
Before I get into the topic, a quick happy belated birthday to my co-host Galen Smith.
Oh, thank you. Period.
Recently turned, recently.
If you know,
Oh,
years old.
How was your birthday?
My birthday was great, guys. Check out my my Instagram and my TikTok if you want to see the little mini vlog of my birthday week. If you don't follow me, you should be following me. But Hot Girl Summer Camp every week. I'm telling y'all what I do in my summertime. Episode 4 was all about my birthday. So I did a couple of very fun things that you should go check out. But I had a really good birthday. I feel like I was surrounded with love. My inner child felt very happy with everything that we did. And I'm excited because I just ordered my roller skates today. So like it's
Fun.
giving Hot Girl Summer Camp is really taking off, guys. We're moving forward. So I'm very, very excited. But we're here for this episode of the podcast, first episode in my new birthday year. And like Caleb said, we did a double feature. And today we're gonna talk about a classic film, and then a remake of said classic film. Today we're going to talk about White Men Can't Jump, 1992 and 2023.
1991.
It says 92 on
It says
IMDb.
92?
On IMDb, I'm looking at it now. I have IMDb Pro. Yes, I paid the extra monies. It says 1992.
Okay, audience, I apologize for confusing everyone.
I think maybe it was like filmed in 91, but I think it might have been released in 92.
Gotcha.
Because I feel like I've seen 91 before too. So I feel like people just, they get confuzzled.
And though the movies have the same concept, I will say they are two different stories.
They're different movies.
Yeah, they are.
With the same name.
If you go to the 92 log line, that one says it's a black and white basketball hustlers join forces to double their chances of winning money on the street courts and in a basketball tournament.
And then the 2023 log line says two ballers, opposites who are seemingly miles apart, find they might have more in common than they imagined possible. Which, that's the same log line with different words.
Right.
Because, I feel like if you look at both sentences, you have a full picture of the story that's being told. But if you look at them as separately, you're still missing parts of the story.
Right. Like, the first one's missing the soul, the second one's missing the structure. Like, what?
Yes.
Which, it was missing some structure. But we will get into it.
We're going to get into it.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry for bringing us here. Because, to be honest, the whole reason why we're doing this is because I saw Jack Harlow was in a movie, and I said I wanted to see that.
But to be fair, to be honest, right? We mess with each other, but I be dragging you about all these black classics you ain't seen. And technically, White Men Can't Jump is a black classic that neither of us had seen. So in the endeavor to be, black cinema literate, we should watch this movie.
Right.
We did at some point need to watch it. Did I need to watch the new one? No shade to nobody involved. But what was that?
What was that?
What was that?
No redeemable qualities?
The redeemable qualities for me of the second one, Tiana Taylor. I love her. I think she's just very fun to watch on TV. Like, I think Tiana Taylor, especially like I think she's gotten better as an actor, but I think she elevates projects even if she's like a small part of the project. But I think it's just like she's very funny and she's fun to watch on TV. Cinco Walls is fine. God bless America. He is fine. There was this one moment in the last 20 minutes that I thought was hilarious, and it was the first like cackle laugh that I had of the whole movie. And it was when they were talking about, oh, spoiler alert, guys, but when Jack Harlow's character gets hurt in the tournament, and then the friends then he punches J. Alphonse Nicholson, whom I also love. I love J. Alphonse. If y'all don't watch P Valley, get into it, honey. When he punches him and they're carrying him off, and they were like, he gonna get killed in the parking lot. And the guy was like, I ain't never been to a white man funeral before. I was just starting to get to know him. That 30 seconds right there, crying laughing. Laughing. I feel like that for me was the redeemable part of the second one, because I enjoyed the first movie a lot more. Right. But I think like, and what we were saying kind of before we got on the pod was like, for me, the charm of the first movie was that it just felt like a beautiful day in LA. Like there was so much of the story and the action centered around the actual action of the movie, which was y'all hustling people to make money. Like the first movie really spent the majority of the time scheming, hustling, playing basketball. And that was the movie. And then even the external plot, like what we saw of their outside of basketball life, was still very validated by the motivations and objectives of the characters. Like the white guy character, he's being chased by the mob. So we see that part. Rosie Perez, who plays his girlfriend, her, pursuit of trying to be on Jeopardy. We see that, but it's about how both of them are hustling and trying to make a life together. We don't see that much of
the homegirl.
And now everybody's names just flew out of my brain. Let me go back. We don't see that much of Wesley Snipes' like home life. Like we see his wife a little bit,
right?
But like she's not super important to the story, so we don't see her.
Focused on
Woody
Harrelson.
Right. Whereas I feel like in the second movie, like we spent a lot of time walking around and talking and going to barbershops and eating ice cream and it didn't have nothing to do with anything. I think they tried to set that second one up to be more of a traditional like sports movie with like heavy backstory, comeback kid kind of a thing where it's like, no, the movie was we outside in the sun playing basketball, hustling fools for money. Like that is the movie. And I feel like they deviated a little too much.
Which I just want to say for the people listening, watching, an experiment was done. I actually saw the remake first and then watched the original. Gaelyn watched the original first and then the remake. Yeah. And I think that definitely does play into how we view the movies, because after watching the second movie first, when I went to the original version. After watching 2023, I go back to the original and like, I was excited to see how they were going to do the whole backstory of the legend. Oh, like,
and there was none.
And there was none. There was none. You just saw the black man on the court and you knew, he got it. Like, cool.
Also, I want to point out something that they really should have put in the second movie. Them singing men from that first movie, they was singing them songs, honey. Every time they came on the screen, you knew it was about to be a tight 4-part harmony, okay? They was snapping, they was singing. It gave. I love it. I don't understand what the choice was, but I appreciated the choice.
And speaking of appreciating choices, I do appreciate I do. I know you might not, but I appreciate the choice in white men. They chose to play the roles.
I do not. I'm so sorry to that man. How do I say this nicely and in a way that someone might still cast me to play opposite him since he has movie credits and I don't? I think Jack Harlow is a funny white boy. I think he should just be a funny white boy.
Gotcha. So like,
I don't like his music that much.
but are
I
you
think
connecting
it's
his music to his
I
acting?
I also don't think he's a good actor.
Hmm.
Like, I think, like, it was one of those where it's like, I was really, genuinely, I went into this hoping. I was like, you know what? I don't like his music that much, but maybe he's going to be a good actor. And I'm going to go, you know what? I like him. We should do more
Right.
of this. And I left the movie going, to me, what's funny to me is, as much as I didn't think he was a good actor and I didn't really like the second movie, to
Hmm.
me, he was the only person who came out of the movie, like, looking good. And I think it's because everybody else in the movie has more on camera experience, has more acting experience, and
Right.
the movie was kind of meh. And what did they say in the movie? That you don't raise to the level of competition, you sink to the level of your training or whatever. That's how the movie felt to me. As much as I enjoyed Tiana Taylor, this wasn't her best performance. As much as I like Cinqua Wallace,
Hmm.
didn't think this was his best performance. But Jack Harlow looked really good in it because the expectations for him were lower. And I think it was as an agent, smart move. He now will start
Right.
to get more movies and TV shows because we've now seen him do it. And we're like, oh, well, he survived. And I think it was a good look for him, but I just don't think like, it felt like, I don't like when you watch something and you feel like it's a vehicle for somebody to be successful. And that's it.
Oh
You know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
I know
Like,
what you mean.
it's kind of like
It's
Euphoria.
like,
It's like, I love Euphoria, but it's very clearly a vehicle to showcase Zendaya as an actor, as an adult woman. And
hmm
all the rest of the storylines are kind of just around. And that's how I felt about this movie, where I was like, oh, like, y'all gave a lot of screen time, of narrative time to Jack Harlow. And he was okay with it, but it made him
right.
look, you know, more of an actor.
Right. Yeah, no, and that was because, like we said with the original movie, um, you don't get much of Wesley Snipes unless he's dealing with Woody Harrelson.
Right.
Um, and in the new movie, yeah, you don't like we definitely got more, relatively speaking,
We got a lot of
comparing the
his
movies.
backstory in a sense, though, because like we got like the whole storyline with the dad and having MS, and then we
Right.
went to the baby's birthday party, and
Yeah,
it
so
just kind of,
we definitely
yeah.
got more. It's just something that was disheartening because like
Mm.
one of the hearts of the original movie was Rosie Perez. Like I love that character.
She was so
And
funny in that movie.
her trying to get on Jeopardy, like that was a great
I
story
loved
to
that
just throw that in
storyline
there.
because it was
And she was
random. Like it didn't have
right.
really anything else to do with what was going on, other than like it was her hustle. But like
Hmm.
Jeopardy, like that's just a random. Like you could do anything, and Jeopardy is the
Right.
one where they was like, she wants to be on Jeopardy. That is her
And she was
driving
killing it too.
force,
Buzz,
and
buzz, buzz, buzz,
killed it.
buzz.
Buzz wouldn't let nobody get an answer in, honey.
And so for them to have like those three well-rounded characters leading the whole film, and this movie having God knows how many, and
So many characters,
you
but none
still
of them
didn't get
felt
that
well
much.
rounded.
Right. You
Like they
know,
all
none of them
kind of.
felt well-rounded.
I think the thing is with White Men Can't Jump, the original, is that you could have pulled any of those characters and done a movie solely about them, and you still would have had a story.
Hmm.
Like, yes, obviously the camaraderie helped it, but like I would watch a story about Rosie Perez's character's pursuit of Jeopardy. I'd watch a movie about
Right.
the white boy going to the hood and playing basketball, and vice versa with the black man. Like, I'd watch any of those stories.
Hmm.
I think with this one, it was like, y'all want to be a family movie, and you kind of want to do the original thing, and you want to be a sports comeback movie, and the blend was a little off for me.
Right.
I think it's also interesting because the director, his name is Calmatic. He's the director of the 2023 movie. He's also a frequent creative collaborator with Vince Staples, who, as you know, a lot of us know if we watch Abbott and things like that, like Vince Staples is getting into his acting bag as of recent.
Hmm.
I know I listened to an interview last year that's like Kenya Barris and Vince Staples are working on a show. I think they're in development for that. So like he's, getting his
Right.
acting bag. And then Calmatic, I guess, is his, collaborator. But Calmatic's debut feature was the House Party reboot. And that's another movie that I don't understand why we're remaking in the 2020s.
Hmm.
Like, if we're being honest, like, I just don't think everything needs to be remade or revisited. And like,
Right.
House Party didn't need to be revisited. I don't think we needed another White Men Can't Jump, especially because like in 2020, like right now, what's his name? Jokic, the Joker. He the like main basketball dude right now. He a white boy from Europe, ain't he? Like, we
Yeah.
know white men can jump. Like, I feel like in the 90s, like because my dad watched part of like the
Hmm.
old one with me. He was like, in the 90s, it was more of a like, can white men jump? Like, it was more of a white guys in
The
basketball hadn't been as
actual
big yet. Like, you had like
philosophical
Larry,
question.
yeah, like you had Larry Bird, you had a couple of people, but it hadn't
Hmm.
necessarily been proven over and over and over again. Versus now, it's like,
Look at the
duh.
game itself.
If you playing basketball, you can jump now. Like, that's just kind of how it is. Like, I grew up in, so the DMV is technically the basketball capital of America. Apparently,
Hmm.
at one point, PG County produced the highest number of NBA draftees per capita in the world. So, like, every boy in DC and Maryland and Virginia plays basketball, regardless of ethnicity. So, like, it just kind of felt like in 2023, I was like, I don't see the impetus for this movie. Whereas in the 90s, I was like, this is a fun movie. Like, it's not something I would revisit, but it was like a
Hmm.
fun day at the beach, enjoyable, pop it on kind of a movie.
No, because I have it was a fun movie to the remake. Like it was
Mm.
fun. I mean, I did also like choose it, on like I'm gonna have this in the background. I just ended up giving it more attention than like I thought I would.
Uh,
Um,
okay.
then
How
with
far apart did you watch them? Like,
I think like a week apart.
okay. So, yeah, I watched them maybe a couple days apart, like maybe 4 or 5 days apart. Like, I think I watched one on
Hmm.
Thursday and then one today. So, 4 or 5 days apart.
Right. Yeah. Um, and so yeah, no, it was about 5 days. Sorry. It's just I was
Okay.
trying to remember when I got the text.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're good.
Um, but I forgot what I was saying.
I don't know either.
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say it's I think like this is pure speculation. Pure.
I got you. We here.
I need a second. I need a second. Okay, cool. So this is pure speculation, but
Okay.
I feel like the reason why Calmatic might be remaking these movies is because studios don't trust black movies. So, but you know what studios do
Yeah.
trust? Proven material.
Prove IP.
So,
They love an
right,
IP, child.
they love an IP. Yo,
I
create
think
something
honestly
original.
I think you're probably right. Like, it's easy if you can build your career off of things that have already been done,
Hmm.
even if they're mid, it's already been done, so no one has to trust you with something different. Plus, like the
Right.
original, so what's his name? Ron, Ron Shelton. He was a producer and he was credited with the story in the new
Hmm.
one. So I guess he did have some hand in the new one. So it wasn't like, this just happened in a vacuum, but it was
Right.
like Kenya Barris and Ron Shelton sitting in a room coming up with this new one together. Interestingly enough, in case anybody else was like shocked by this, Ron Shelton was in fact a white man, or is in fact a white man. I had to look it up just now to make sure I was right. I'm like, how
He
do white
made
men
that
do a
movie.
better job with the black story than the black people did with the black story? I just want to understand.
Nah, because he made that movie with something to prove for his people. He
He
said,
said,
"I'm sick
white
and
men
tired of this."
can jump. They can jump.
And that reminds me of something else I was gonna say. You brought this up before we actually started recording the
Uh,
podcast,
okay.
but the first movie was more of a sports heavy movie. Like you're watching these people actually cross ankles and
Yeah.
make these buckets
I was so proud
versus
of you. I was so proud of you just then.
why?
Using the sports lingo because you don't like sports ball.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm not gonna lie to you. I was still thinking, did I say that wrong? But
Of
I'm
the
glad.
two of us, which is hilarious to me, it's like of the two of us, I'm the sports person, and like that's relative. Like, I'm not. You
Mhm.
can't put me on ESPN right now and have me, do the commentary for the game. I'm not there, but I
Right.
do know a little bit more. But it's just funny. I was like, look at Caleb using his lingo. Go ahead, friend.
Nah, I was very worried I used it wrong too, so I'm glad. I'm glad.
Mm-mm. Nah,
But
you ate that. You ate that. They were crossing
but the
ankles and making buckets. You're not wrong.
yeah, no, first movie they were doing their thing and I'm watching. And the thing is, I funny enough, as you are the sports person, I'm like anti-sports. I don't like it. Get it away from me. But put it in a movie. Put it in some Ted Lasso. Oh, I'm gonna
Caleb,
run tangent.
I want you to watch not the whole show because I can't stand behind the whole
Friday
show.
Night Lights.
No, I stand behind that show. That's a great show.
Okay.
But I want you to watch The Game. The first 3 seasons of The Game when they were on the CW with the shaky cameras
No,
and
I
the
remember
bad
that.
weaves.
I
But
remember
have you
thinking,
watched the entire series? No, you got to
no, I
watch it from
definitely
start
haven't.
to finish. I'm rewatching it right now because it's like
Hmm.
they're 20-minute episodes, so they're they're
Right.
super short and they're funny. So like you kind of just like if you have time, you'll like go through a bunch of them at a time. But I want you to rewatch it because I feel like if you liked to an extent the white men can't jumps, I feel like
Hmm.
because the comedy of The Game, like the big thing about The Game is that they didn't actually spend a lot of time on the field. Like yes, they were football players and the wives and girlfriends of, but like
Right.
it was more situational comedy about the rest of everything else. And I feel like the
Hmm.
comedy of it all you would appreciate because it's so freaking
Okay.
funny.
Because I will watch something for some comedy.
It's so funny. The outfits are
Oh,
also very bad, and the hair is very bad because it was 2007, and networks hate black women. But it's hilarious, hilarious show.
which timeout, letting everyone know I am doing stand up. I've been
Oh,
going to the city,
oh, he back
and
outside,
I'm back outside,
back on
and
stage. Era's loading for everybody.
I just something you just said reminded me. But after my set on Tuesday, these these two these two I was gonna call them kids because they looked young, but like they're 22.
Yeah, you're not even that much older than them, friends.
But they came up to me. They were like, "Yo, that was the best set in New York City." I said, "Yo,
Look
that's a
at you.
gas. I'll take it. I'll take it."
Listen, I'll take you.
Yeah,
And will. And certainly will. But no, I feel like
it
you would
was
like
a
The Game. Back on stage eras are loading. I can't make my announcement yet, but
mhm.
the back on stage era is loading. I go to rehearsal tomorrow for the thing. I'll say what the
And I
thing
have
is in like 2 weeks.
that one project in pre-development. Yep. Oh yeah, on stage loading.
On stage era, we back outside. No Seat to Hollywood up. City Girls up. Yeah, we up. Back to this movie. I
Back
don't
to
know where we
this.
went. So, Caleb, we obviously have talked about this movie. Like you said, you saw the second one first. I saw the first one first. So, like the how we view the movie is obviously slightly different. But
Mhm.
we both kind of, like the first story. I think you and I both can agree. Like there was more of a structure. I think the story was a little
Yeah.
bit more clear of what they were trying to do. Whereas this one, I think, was like the second one was revisiting a classic movie and trying to update it, but you're trying to just do just a little bit more, a little
Mhm.
bit different of a story. And so, and also just thinking about Calmatic being, I'm just going to call him the reboot director at this point because you're in 2 reboots at this point. Interestingly enough, the ratings for White Man Can't Jump 2 were very bad on IMDb. I ain't even gonna hold you. It said 5 out
Yeah.
of 10.
Yeah. I peeped that. I peeped
I don't know what the old one was, but like it was giving.
that. It was at
It's
least
not.
7.
I
At
think the
least.
old one. So yeah, the first one, the original says 6.8 out of 10. Okay, so neither
Wow.
of them were ranked that well. Never mind. I thought it was 7 too for some reason. I thought it was like 7 or 8. But
Right.
reboots obviously are a thing that we are seeing a lot of right now. We're seeing a lot of reboots. We're seeing a lot of spin-offs. Shoot, even
Mhm.
The Game is on its third version of the series at this point. Like you're seeing a lot
Right.
of, these reboots and spin-offs and expansions of stories that already exist. How do you feel about this? I'm gonna call it like the IP era. It's giving, if it's not already someone's intellectual property that we've seen, it's not really getting on the stages and the screens anymore.
Mhm.
And so what are your thoughts about all of it
Right.
as both an audience member and as a creative?
I'm gonna answer in 2 parts.
Okay.
First, I'm gonna do remakes. Then I'm gonna do reboots. So remakes. I think it's ethical even to make a remake of something before like 1960. Like the
Mm,
quality wasn't that
okay.
good. You could really do a whole lot, and maybe the movie there were some issues.
Okay.
If it's timely, then I think sure, why not? If
Okay.
you have like a truly personal piece attached, okay,
Yeah.
remake it. But other than that, why? The
Why?
movie exists. It literally exists
And if you're
already.
not going to do anything, like you said, if it's not going to be timely and therefore different in at least an updated current way,
And
what's the
also,
point?
I'm surprised the studios don't have this mindset. But if not only can you do it different, can you do it better? Because it already exists. So, yeah.
It's kind of like, I don't know. I think about, so my friend Chanel, and I'm so sad about this. I'm very upset with Paramount Plus right now. I've actually, but my friend Chanel was on the show, Grease, The Rise of the Pink Ladies. And it
Right.
tells the story, like the origin story of the Pink Ladies of Grease. And so it uses none of the same characters from from either version of from Grease 1 or Grease 2. And it's how that quote unquote girl gang came to be. But the other thing about it was that they diversified it. So like Chanel is a black woman, a darker skinned black woman
Right.
at that. There's an Asian woman who's in the cast. Like they are using diversity that like existed because the school was in California. So like Californians did have segregation, but it was depending on what part of California you were in, it was a less
Hmm.
strict segregation. So like the idea of there being diverse people in the story is not factually incorrect to the story that they were telling. And so
Right.
that to me was a good use of IP to expand the story, to make it a little bit more inclusive, and to give us an origin in a way that was so different from the movies. I think that was like
Hmm.
to me a good usage of doing that. But I feel like a lot of times these reboots and like other movies, like things like that, are just like you just did it again because you could, or you're
Right.
just making the umpteenth sequel because you're too lazy to find new actors and create new stories. Like it's just like I don't know, like it just feels a little lazy and boring to me, especially when like these movies cost money. And like you could be making and platforming other things. Cause one movie, we gonna put it on here, but like I stand The Blackening. It
Mm.
is one of the better movies that I have seen in a very long time, and it's hilarious. But it's also, other than the fact that yes, it was a sketch that went around on the internet a few years ago, it is original characters, original stories. There are a lot of actors and faces you know, but not necessarily know well.
Right.
And I think that's a better use of our money. It was a mid budget movie. I think that cost $5 million to make. They made $6 million in the first weekend. Like I'd rather see a whole bunch of mid budget movies with a blend of names and faces I do and don't know, and therefore you're creating more opportunities for creatives and more stories than see like White Men Can't Jump 2023 and then White Men Can't Jump 2047. Like we don't
Right.
need all of these reboots that way.
Like the amount of times that A Star is Born has been remade,
Oh my lord.
like
We don't need that.
at this point, it's like a filmmaker's challenge, like a step above TikTok challenge. Like
Or
it's
it's
not
kind of like
necessary.
how I feel about Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
Yeah.
Guess Who's Coming to Dinner when you had Sidney Poitier in the 60s. That
Mm.
was a very compelling piece of media. Like a black man is dating a white woman and they go home to meet her parents.
Right.
That was at the time when you're talking about segregation ending. That was a critique of the times. It was a political statement. When they
Mm.
remade it with Bernie Mac and Zoe Saldana and Ashton Kutcher in 2000s, like, and then flipped it, and so Bernie Mac is the bigoted father, like, no, we don't
Yeah.
need that. And then you have like You People, which is essentially a similar, it was less of a place from hate and more of just like difference, but like a similar
Yeah.
story where I'm like, that's the third version of the same story. And only one of them really was a political statement that critiqued culture in a way that I felt was necessary.
And that does remind me, when it does come to remakes, I think spiritual successors, like those could work. So
Mm,
in this sense, like the idea to remake the Po- Pot,
Poitiers.
Poitier
Français.
movie,
Français. Poitiers.
Poitier
Mhm.
movie, it would make sense ideally to remake the movie, because like you could see how racial tensions have shifted somewhat, and like how better we've gotten, but still how far, like things
Right.
like
Because
that
it's
could
not that
make
racism
sense.
doesn't exist to this day, and there's not there
Right.
like there are still places where you can't bring an interracial relationship into that house, and it's gonna like it's not outside of the realm of being useful, but the way it's been done hasn't
Mhm.
met the same integrity of that original film. I think
Right.
is the issue for me.
And when it does come to reboots, Yeah, no, if the story was complete, there's no need. If somehow there was like a subculture of a movie that like followed a character
Yeah.
and you do your best to fully like have a full story based around that and not just, oh, we can get money from it, then okay. But I don't, there should be one third the amount of reboots
Mm-hmm.
than remakes.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think right now it's just so many of them. And I think the pandemic didn't help because now everyone's afraid to go into the movie theaters because of the germs. And now it's
Hmm.
like if studios are going to spend millions of dollars, they want something that they know is going to put butts in seats. It's like, because think about it. There is a whole segment of the population who saw the original White Men Can't Jump when they were our age. And
Right.
so they watched this one because, oh, it's the remake. Let me see what these young people are doing. Then there's a segment of the population, like you said, who were like, oh, well, I saw Jack Harlow was in a movie. I'm going to see it. Or I saw Tiana Taylor was in the movie. I'm going to see it. And so they knew they were going to get eyeballs. And therefore, like, I don't know. I just sometimes feel, and this is obviously a speculation. And I think I would hope that nobody goes into it being like, it doesn't matter if this is good. But I
Hmm.
sometimes feel like studios and networks and executives aren't necessarily concerned with making a good movie. Like, I
Right.
don't think that enters the priority list for them.
This was a fun talk.
This was a fun one. I feel like, I really want you guys to talk back to us because I feel like we say some wild stuff and don't nobody say nothing to us. And I just want to know what y'all think because maybe we got it all wrong. You know what I'm saying? Maybe these movies were peak cinema and we missed something. And maybe there was a secret point about race relations in the 90s and 2000s that we missed. And if y'all feel
Maybe.
like y'all have something else to say, let us know. If you're listening to us on Spotify, we have polls and questions that we put every time. I also usually turn on the voice messages. So if you want to send us a voice message and be featured on the next episode, you can also do that. If you're listening on anything else, feel free to, leave us a review. Leave us a 5-star review on the Apple Podcast, guys. We need that.
Please.
Okay. Boost us up. You can always interact with us at No Sleep Till Hollywood on the Instagrammies, and you can leave us comments. I don't know if you guys have been noticing we've been about the episodes. Obviously, that is a great place to do it. But I feel like I want to hear from y'all. So just let us know. Other than that, it's your girl, Gaelyn Smith. You can follow me at GSmitty with 2 T's and 4 Y's on anything with an at symbol. I need 2 more followers to get to 400 on the
Oh,
TikToks at the moment that I'm saying
almost
this.
there.
By the time y'all hear it, I don't know where we'll be at. But the point is, I would like them extra 2 followers to get to 400. My goal is 1,000 by the end of the year. I'm already at 398, and I've only had this account for like 2.5, 3 months. So y'all can follow me there and talk to me and talk back to me and make comments as well.
And follow me at Caleb Subtitles. I am in a development period, so I'm not as active on the socials, but when I have thoughts, I leave them there. So
Mm-hmm.
at Caleb Subtitles, you know. Thank you for listening to this
Mm-hmm.
podcast. And as always, good morning, good
Good
afternoon.
night. Good evening. Bonjour, bonsoir. Adios. Bye, guys.
Sniff your markers.